it is it you are getting what you pay for.
For
I'll tell
sure.
you, you definitely are. And for those avid hunters out there, I mean, it doesn't have to be somebody kicking indoors. Those guys that are out there boar hunting, they're coyote hunting, man, they want that top of the line stuff, and those ones on the ranches, and that's what they're looking for, and it is worth the money.
Battle Line podcast, we have a great episode for you guys with the guys from Photonis Defense, Phil Otto, Sean Kirk, and Phil Otto, who is a former law enforcement officer, Marine, CIA contractor. It takes a bit to get it out of him, but I do get a great combat story out of him, and I think you guys are going to like this episode. Before even getting to the reads and
Yeah.
all, what have you been up to, man?
Well, we didn't, a couple weeks ago, and to me, that was a bucket list. I speak a lot, guys, and I not
That's
as much,
right.
but a bucket list thing for me was always to speak at a Ranger School graduation, and then I'd love to speak at a RASP, a 75th Ranger Regiment, or a Ranger Assessment Selection Phase graduation or program. That's what they call it. And I got to speak at a Ranger School graduation, and
Yeah.
man, to me that was such an honor, I wish I could have talked more, but just watching and going and being at Victory Pond and watching it's some similar to the same graduations they've done over and over the stuff they do, but and watching the RIs still, the Ranger instructors, and how much they still take their job seriously, and how being an outsider, not a student, where you graduate, you just want to get the hell out of there because you've been being miserable for 3 months, and watching it now as a spectator and then being able to be a part of it. Man, I was super humbled, just incredibly humbled, and watching the RIs prepare, how they prepare the young Rangers again, it's amazing. I have so much respect for the Ranger instructors and the guys that go through, and being able to be that old guy that the young guys want to come up to. When I was that young guy coming up to the old guy that had seen a little bit of combat, and wanting to pick his brain, and now being that guy where I'm the old
Cool.
guy, they're coming to pick in my brain. It was a little bit surreal because I didn't think I would ever be that guy. And but it was, again, it was more humbling than anything. And then being able to be a part of the old Vietnam Rangers, I had a picture with three of those guys that came in, and being welcomed into their brotherhood, which I have the utmost respect for for any Vietnam veterans, but those Vietnam Rangers and Korean War Rangers. Wow, those fuckers. And I say that as a endearing term. Those guys are unbelievable badasses. And being for them to come and just welcome me in, man, I don't have, I really, I'm usually not at a loss for words than I am, because it doesn't get any better than that, for at least for me, and being part of that Ranger brotherhood, and then just being at Fort Benning again. I felt like I was home. I haven't felt home in a long time, and I just felt like I was home. I
Yeah.
didn't want to leave. I always want to leave. At speaking of it, when I travel, I always want to leave. I want to get out of there when we're done, because I want to come home and see my family.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to leave. Even the hotel, I didn't mean to book it, but I booked it at the same hotel that I spent all my nights with when I had breaks. And I drove up like, holy shit, I remember this place, man. And it just, it was amazing, man. And it just meant that it was another memory that I'll have forever. And I hope I get to go back and speak at a Ranger school graduation. I mean, a Ranger assessment and selection phase, a 75th
Okay.
Ranger
Yeah.
graduation, and just to be able to be part of that, but to be able to go back to Benning again. And then I visited the Ranger Memorial, which every Ranger does when they go back to Benning, and it couldn't have been a more perfect day. There's sweet bushes that smell. It's just a distinctive smell when you go into Benning in the spring. They're called sweet bushes. There's a name for them. It smells like heaven. I imagine that's what heaven smells like. It was a blue sky, birds chirping. I'm walking up to the Ranger, and then there's some ranges that are just off in the distance, and you could hear sporadic gunfire. I mean, isn't that just like heaven for a Ranger? Beautiful
Yeah.
day, blue skies, sweet smell in the air, birds chirping, and then there's some gunfire in the distance. And it was, man, it couldn't have gotten any better, man.
It's like
It
that
really,
picture of you meditating, but you also have a
yeah,
gun on you.
exactly. It couldn't have got any better than that. And the weather was perfect. It was just starting to get humid. It was hot for Benning. It wasn't hot for Benning. It was 75 and humid. It's springtime in Benning. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
I just I loved every minute of it, man.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome that you got a chance to do that, and I know it was a bucket list item for you. So
Yeah.
that's awesome, man.
Thanks, man.
Before we get into everything, we talk a lot about U.S. manufacturing on this episode, and that ties into Ned because Ned is really the only brand I know that is making CBD in the U.S. Almost all CBD out there is made in China, so it's hard for me to recommend CBD to people if they're not taking a specific brand, because a lot of it out there, we don't really know what's in it. And with Ned, you're getting the purest, cleanest CBD grown in Colorado. And if you're wondering, it's not going to get you high, just going to help you relax, help you get some great quality sleep for me. And yeah, I can't recommend Ned CBD in particular more highly, just like I can't recommend more highly the Relief Balm. If you have any pain areas, any areas that are problematic, whether you're lifting a lot or old injuries or anything like that, that stuff is really going to help you out. So check out the Pain Relief Balm. And all of their other great products are absolutely awesome. We stand by them. HelloNed.com/battleline. And as a first-time customer, you'll get 15% off your order with them just for being a Battleline podcast listener because they really love what we do. They've been on board with us since, before the parent
Yeah.
company took over. And now that they do have a parent company, we weren't sure how long they would continue, and they have, and we're so appreciative for it. So check them out, helloned.com/battleline, HELLONED.com/battleline, or just enter the code battleline at checkout when you go to helloned.com. Also, this Battleline podcast episode is sponsored by Brooks Defense Solutions, LLC. Brooks Defense Solutions, located in Mulligan, Michigan, was founded as a result of the lack of preparedness during the COVID-19 pandemic, riots, looting, and active shooter incidents, as well as the lack of specialized training, particularly for those with disabilities. Brooks Defense Solutions provides clients with practical and hands-on training that empowers them to confidently handle emergency situations, enhance their personal and professional safety, and develop a proactive approach towards security. This is accomplished through a comprehensive range of training programs and services to address the identified problem by offering training in firearms, first aid, CPR, AED, emergency preparedness, guidance, and active shooter prevention. Now, this is something cool they're doing right now. Brooks Defense Solutions has partnered with Walk the Talk America. We've had those guys on the show before. If you check back on the old episodes, great organization. And they've organized a t-shirt fundraising event. This t-shirt consists of the Walk the Talk America and Brooks Defense logos on each sleeve to signify the collaboration between the organizations, and the chest has the phrase, "We're all in this together," to signify the importance of partnering together, both the 2A and mental health communities, to tackle the solution and bridging the gap between mental health and 2A rights. Great stuff. The shirt sizes range from small to 3XL and are being sold for $25. Great deal on that. The net profits from the t-shirt sales will be donated to Walk the Talk America to support their mission. So check that all out. To make your purchase today, or just to check out what Brooks Defense Solutions is doing, visit brooksdefense.net/shop for that t-shirt. It's brooksdefense.net/shop, and make your purchase today. That link will be in the show description, brooksdefense.net/shop. With that, let's get right over to Phil Otto and Sean Kirk.
From Kansas City to New York City, from planet Earth to extraterrestrial life in space, a podcast with no equal, engaged in unconventional warfare through your speakers and headphones. This is a show about embracing the suck, conquering your demons, and finding God in the face of adversity. Chris Tonto Peranto.
Switch is on. Motherfucker, I'm gonna shoot you in the face.
Ian Scotto.
Ian and I have been dating for a long time.
You are now tuned into the Battle Line Podcast.
The Switch is on, Battle Line podcast, and we're here with two guys who have been on the show many times. Every time Sean has been on the show, I don't know, every time Sean's been on the show, it's been in studio. Just about every time Phil's been on the show, it's been in studio, other than your first appearance. And it's like, we've been all over. You guys have been in studio with me in Vegas, New York, and then we did the one with Chris in Kansas with Phil. So, yeah, I mean, I've been all over with you guys, and it's great to do this. Always love talking night vision with you. I know there's a lot happening with Photonis, but yeah, what have you guys been up to just personally?
Phil, you go ahead.
Phil ducked me at Fort Benning. The only time I actually hang out with anyone on my trips, and he ducks me. Dude. So it's like
Well,
because I always tell everybody no, always like Phil, you want to go out? No, dude, I left already. Seriously, dude, that's why I never go out with anybody when I'm on my trips, because if I say yes, they freaking duck me and they break my heart. So that's all right. It's all right.
No, I'll have to owe you double on the next one. So
You got, man.
yeah, my mouth is a little numb. Like I just had a crown put on.
Oh,
So-
yeah, great time to do a podcast,
Yeah,
bro.
excellent job. Way to
Well,
go.
We've been on the road so much. It was a temporary crown, and I needed the permanent. But we've been on the road traveling so much. I'm like, man, whenever you got the next opening, just get me in there. And that was today. So
Lovely.
What,
Um,
powering through? What's wrong, man? You chewing too much? Too much tobacco when you're out on the tractor out there in Michigan, or what?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. Weak jeans. Yeah.
Who knows? But no, we've been at Fort Benning a lot. Over the last month, 45 days, something like that.
Wow.
So yeah, just getting some end user time with the goggle and letting the Army look at the goggle to support some potential opportunity. I guess I'll put it that way.
So you're like in the contract. You're in the middle of competition or contract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just so
We
everybody knows, Phil's a Marine. So
Yes.
when he says, we've been gone for the last month, and he says 45 days, that's Marine Corps math. So I just want to let you know.
I should throw out there because Chris actually reminded me of something. Usually I try to do a big intro and I assume like, oh, everybody knows these guys. So I should say Sean Kirk, VP of Photonis Night Vision Systems, Phil Otto, sales manager at Photonis, but also a Marine law enforcement officer, CIA contractor. I'm sure Chris has plenty we can get into, and I have plenty, but other than what you guys have been up to, one thing I wanted to ask is, this was actually the first SHOT Show in a while that neither I was there in January, Chris wasn't there in January.
Yeah.
Usually at least one of us is there. So was there anything that you guys saw, anything in the firearms industry that you were like, wow, this is awesome, I need to have this?
I'd love to say that we did, but we rarely leave the booth when we're there.
That's true.
It's probably the worst time for us to get around and see what's going on, in the industry, because we just never have time to get out of the booth so I didn't see much. I don't know, Phil. I don't think Phil got much out much either.
Not much. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head.
So
Yeah.
attendance seemed like it was down significantly this year.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how was it? Was it busy? I didn't really pay attention to much going on. Actually, I was speaking in North Dakota at the time, so I got to spend January in North Dakota. It was minus 32. So
Yeah,
you
no,
guys were in
I say
balmy
no to
Las
that.
Vegas. Yeah, it was. It was like wow. But yeah, I saw some of the pictures, but I didn't really pay attention to it too much, just from what Phil sent me or what Ryan Kraft of Fort Scott Munitions sent me, or who's there, Maxim DeFeld, Mike Winfield over at Maxim. But it didn't look like it was, usually it's just massively shoulder to shoulder. And
It is,
didn't-
and this year we had every year we have an event on Wednesday with the Three Rangers guys where they're pouring
Yeah.
whiskey and we're pouring your vodka.
the
and
vodka.
stuff.
Well, Ben was there, right? Ben came,
Yeah,
didn't he?
Ben was there.
Yeah, Ben was there. Yeah.
Yeah, and normally it's, we'll have 400 or 500 people in the booth for that afternoon. I don't think we had a quarter of that. It was,
Really? What do you
yeah,
think?
it was really
Why?
odd. I, I mean, I never saw any like official attendance numbers, but I just got to think that people are a little skittish about the way things are going and the chaos that's happening in Washington, which, from my perspective needs to be done, but I think it's made people a little bit skittish.
Well, I
You
was going
know,
to say, actually, I feel like it could be the opposite because everyone in the gun community knows that they say like Obama was the best gun
yeah,
salesman because
I agree. I was going to say the
when
same
the
thing. Yeah.
It
government
could be
is
that as
trying to
well,
do the
yeah.
gun grabbing stuff, a lot of people want to stock up. They're like, wow, there might be some laws down the pike of stuff being restricted. It's time to get it now before you can't. I mean, I could tell you even here in New York after Sandy Hook, which was really unfortunate, that was the last time you could buy an AR-15. And so lines were out the door until they had the ban, and now you can no longer buy that. So I feel like maybe because Trump is in office, people have calmed down a little bit, and they're like, I don't see any restrictions coming, so I don't need to be so worried about stocking up on ammo and guns.
Yeah,
Probably something
I've
to
got some buddies that are like in the silencer industry. They're selling stuff like crazy. So accessories and stuff are going, but I don't, but I'm hearing that like ammunition and gun sales are down. And that may be the reason. Maybe people think they don't need to go out and run out and get them. That's a
They don't
possibility.
need to stockpile. Ryan says that. I
Right.
talked to Ryan and Robbie over there at Fort Scott, and they do when they call it the Trump slump, where they say, yeah,
Yeah.
Trump's in office, and it's the Trump
Yeah,
slump. Now we're not selling because nobody's worried about losing their right to own and bear firearms
yeah.
or the ammunition. And but it doesn't affect the night vision industry as much. So, and or does it? Man, I guess that was my question.
Oh, I don't think it does that way. I mean, that the night vision industry is more, especially the commercial industry, is more economy driven.
Sure.
And our dealers are seeing that right now. Uh, across the board, seems like that they're slower than they have been in past years, and I think people are just hanging on to their money to see what happens with tariffs and all that kind of stuff,
Well,
and
is that
we've
because we
got it.
rely too much on Chinese made? Because night vision does have a lot to, the Chinese make a lot of, if I'm correct, make a lot of the internal parts, there's a lot of the main components. And if we're putting tariffs on China and that's going up,
Yeah, it's not I don't think it's that as much because yes, they are definitely having an impact. We don't put any Chinese made stuff in our stuff at all.
whoop, whoop.
In
Nice job.
fact,
That's why we love Photonists.
in
Heck
fact,
yeah.
we
Absolutely.
are dead set against that, and we're working actively with there's an association called the ANVM, Association of Night Vision Manufacturers, and we're working actively to try to, because it's the stuff that's brought over here is not, I don't want to say it's crap, but it's crap.
I'll say it's crap. I'll say it's crap. It's
Yeah,
crap. Or what? I mean, that's a stereotype, but it's a well-earned stereotype with Chinese made products. It's crap.
yeah,
It's and that's
yeah.
just
They've
and
gotten
that they've
better, I
earned
will
that.
say, over the years, but it's still not as good as we can make. But they come in and try to sell it, and they're not their business practices are I'll just say different. They try to come through Canada and that kind
Yeah.
of thing to say that they're Canadian made and you
Do
know
they?
oh
Well,
yeah.
talk a little bit about that. I mean, I don't. I
Well,
mean, there's a
yeah, I
lot out
mean,
there that don't know that.
I'll probably get in hate for this online because
Oh yeah.
every time we talk about this, the commercial markets wants the cheapest thing that they can get, right? And so they're generally in favor of the Chinese stuff, but their business practices um, are not fair business practices. They try to avoid the Chinese made look by um, setting up these you know companies in Canada as shell companies, and they sell through those. But
Wow.
really, at the end of the day, the money's going right back through Canada, back into the to these companies that are
CCP.
that are owned by the
Yeah.
CCCP.
And that,
So
wow. And
yeah,
that's well, see, and that's an ethical dilemma. And
I
that's
agree.
honestly that's
It is.
bullshit because the guys on the ground don't want the cheapest. They want the best because they're out there fighting with this stuff at night. They're out there operating and but the corporations want the cheap. That's horse shit, dude.
Yeah, it's
That's
interesting. We
bullshit.
we had a meeting. We have an annual meeting of the Association of Night Vision Manufacturers, and bring in all guys from um, commerce and export, and the Army comes in, and all the forces come in and give give presentations on their,
Sure.
on their things that they're working on or things they want to see. And I won't name him because it was kind of embarrassing for him. He talked about the Chinese stuff and keeping it out. In his very first slide, he had a list of products, and there was a Chinese made product
What?
right on the front
Whoops.
page.
There's something said
I
about
gleefully
QC.
went up to him afterwards and said, "Hey, you realize you got a Chinese made product on the front page?"
Yeah, actually, yeah, they QC your shit, Big Sarge. QC it, man.
Absolutely.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm going to get into, you guys beefing up U.S. manufacturing because there was a big announcement there.
yeah.
But before I do, actually, one thing I wanted to ask you, since we're on this topic of when we're saying gun sales being up, gun sales being down, because I don't know the answer to this, and I don't think I've ever asked. In any administration, was there ever any effort to like put restrictions on night vision? And that might be a stupid question, but I was surprised, for example, like back when I worked for SOFREP and we had the Crate Club, there were states where you couldn't sell body armor. We had those ballistic inserts to stop bullets from backpacks, and we realized you couldn't ship those to Connecticut, once again because of Sandy Hook. So no one would think you're coming after that because, you can't kill anyone with a ballistic insert for your backpack. But has anyone ever tried going after night vision and saying civilians can't get military grade night vision?
Not regulatorily per se. They've talked about it over the years. I mean, I've been in this business since 1999, and I've seen a lot come and go. But there's been talk, but nothing's ever come of it. There are companies that won't sell certain products to the commercial market if it's a military product, that kind of stuff. That's their choice, but not any regulatory issues within the United States. Of course, there's all kinds of regulatory issues about trying to export our stuff, and the easy answer to that is they always want our guys to have the best product. So we have to, if we're selling something even to our allies, it's a dumbed down version to make the story
Well,
easy
and
to understand.
and that I be honest, I agree with that. I mean,
Yeah.
but that leads me into the question, since we're how many years out since Afghanistan now, since we're that far removed, and we talked about when you guys were on about how they were able to reverse engineer how, and it was Biden and that complete administration totally foobarred that whole thing, and we left all that. Are you finding out that the Chinese and the Russians and Iranians were able to get a hold of the night vision, not necessarily for autonomous defense, but the night vision that we were using downrange, our military, and able to improve theirs? Because we always had the best. We've always been way above and beyond. And we were concerned that they were going to be able to get that and make theirs just as capable, our enemies just as capable as what we had. And I guess we're so far out now. Have you seen that come to fruition, or was that just a unnecessary worry that we really shouldn't have been worrying about the entire time?
Well, I think we should definitely should have worried about it and legitimately worried about it. I don't know that we ever tied it directly to the Chinese specifically have greatly improved their night vision manufacturing over the last 10 years. And I'm sure it's by getting products in some way over to China for them to take them apart and reverse engineer. I don't think they're doing it from their universities where they're with their electro-optics, gurus and
Yeah.
PhDs. I think they're doing what they always do. They're buying it and copying it, right?
Phil,
Yeah.
I know your mouth is all numb, but I see you nodding to that. Do you want to add anything? Because I want to make sure you're a part of this.
Yeah, yeah.
Sure.
No, I agree with what Sean said. It seems like they've made some strides as far as performance goes last few years. And without a doubt, it is from kind of reverse engineering and copying. Now, whether or not that came off a battlefield or done the way they do all products, and that's through legitimate agreements or purchases and things like that. Because the Chinese are famous for working with a company, developing a product, and then saying, "Oh well, China won't let us work with you, but don't worry, we'll still sell the product, so it's okay." That's kind of their MO. So it they have probably made strides through numerous means of acquisition, as far as competing products. And you got to remember, part of the reason Chinese stuff is so cheap, yeah, it's practically slave labor, but the CCP offsets their profitability,
Absolutely.
almost directly. So they don't have to be profitable.
Wow.
I mean, it's a long-term strategy for them. It's
Makes sense.
yeah.
No, and that's I mean, I wasn't aware of that. And maybe I should be, but I guess I lack some common sense sometimes. But
Right.
you are. If that really is a partnership that's been forged for years, and of course they're going to try to help each other out financially, and to make the better product, because
Yeah.
their products did suck. They were awful, and to see that they've moved on and gotten so much better so quick. You guys may not be able to say it because it's your line of work. I'll say it from an outsider looking in. Hell yeah, they used that shit and reverse engineered it, and
Oh,
we
yeah.
left there. It definitely did help them. We would do the same thing. I mean, it's not like it's, but that's why when you have the military and it's not just battlefield and fighting on it's the withdrawal, it's the logistics while you're there, it's maintaining not national security but maintaining your products where those things don't get out and into the wrong hands. But
Yeah.
well, when you were at the army bases, the military bases, and you guys are doing this, so does that ever come up? Is that why they're bringing you guys in and say, hey, we're seeing this by our enemies, we're seeing their capabilities are getting better. We need you guys to push the envelope. Granted, you're going to push the envelope anyway, till you can see through walls like Superman. That's what
Yeah.
it's going to eventually get to.
Right.
But is the military saying, "Hey, you guys need to pick it up because wow, these guys just caught up with us on the battlefield," and or do they just keep that mum because we don't want to worry the world? Ignorance is bliss.
Mhm. Well, I mean, more than one thing can be true at a time, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
yeah, it's a little bit of both. Technology, just in general, not just night vision, but everything across the board is advancing so fast, and our traditional procurement methods, are not keeping pace. Um, and so, yeah, tech wise, China's obviously the bigger threat, when you compare them even with Russia. But we we're doing pretty good. I mean, I think we're still a step ahead of them.
Good.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things
to,
that go into it. Some of our more advanced tech, not so much on the night vision side. So on the other side is that a lot of these, base material or rare earth mineral, germanium, for example, used in thermals, even U.S. thermal, that was at 90% comes from China. We don't, and there's other examples of that, right? And those metals or materials, you don't mine those specifically, right? You don't open a germanium mine.
You don't just go in there with like a coal mine and a pick, and you don't just pick it. It doesn't work that way.
A lot of that material is a byproduct of mining something else.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And the problem is through regulation over the years and different reasons, the U.S. just does not mine that stuff. And it has all come from China. That's probably our biggest, national security issue is just our manufacturing base and mining base and things like that.
And Sean, I know you wanted to say something. You're trying
Well,
to
I
get
was
in
just saying,
there.
it comes down to, know what you're buying when you buy something, especially on the commercial market, and that's hard to do, but with help from people like you that get us on and let us talk about our products, that we're able to kind of warn, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware, and
Absolutely.
we're
Yeah,
able to talk about it and inform, because it's really hard. You pick up a night vision goggle, you look at it, you have no idea, right? Because the important part is the engine that's inside, and you have no idea whether it's Russian
No,
whatever. Yeah,
none at
Chinese
all.
or whatever. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it can be challenging for the buyer.
Yeah,
It-
I regularly say when I do the reads weekly for you guys or bi-weekly, um, that it is a premium product and
Oh
you're
yeah,
going to pay more than you will for something in a random sporting goods store. And I could even say, our friend of the show, Jimmy Allen, who's a big shooter, he listens regularly. And I remember him texting me saying, I want to be a master of darkness. Could I get some of that night vision? And then he saw the price and he's like, whoa, this is way out of my price range. But people do need to realize that there's a huge difference between what you guys are delivering and what they're going to get for $600.
oh yeah, huge difference.
All right, and it is you are getting what you pay for. I'll
For
tell
sure.
you definitely are, and for those avid hunters out there, I mean, it doesn't have to be somebody kicking indoors. Those guys that are out there boar hunting, they're coyote hunting, man, they want that top of the line stuff, and those ones on the ranches, and that's what they're looking for, and it is worth the money.
Especially
I
if you have
thought
a ranch and you're trying to keep pests like boar off of
boar
it.
off of it,
You
Oklahoma out
you
here,
need
heck
good
yeah.
night vision to get rid of those pests.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying this episode with the guys from Photonis Defense. I'm not going to do the whole read because we talk about Photonis Defense this entire show. So if you want to become a master of darkness and check out the best night vision out there, you've got to go to photonisdefense.com for more information or just look for Photonis Defense product options from your night vision dealer. Once again, photonisdefense.com. We talk all about what they're up to on this episode, and they have so much awesome stuff in the works. We love them. And we also have the best ammo sponsor out there. That's Fort Scott Munitions. FSM is a manufacturer of multi-federal patented solid copper and brass CNC spun ammunition. It's designed to tumble upon impact in soft tissue, leaving devastating wound channels for faster bleed out and quicker incapacitation. This ammunition was originally developed to innovate and improve on the standard of military grade ammunition design. It was found that not only did the TUI ammunition outperform competitors in the self defense industry, but it quickly became apparent that it would be a top contender for hunters alike. With the ammunition being CNC spun, the tolerances are some of the tightest on the market, ensuring that you receive the same results with every pull of the trigger. Fort Scott Munitions is available throughout dealers in all 50 states, but we get the best deal for our listeners when you go to fsm.com and you just enter the promo code BattleLine. You get 15% off your order. fsm.com, use the promo code BattleLine. And if you want to pan to me, Harold, they have these tins, so much cool stuff. Fort Scott Munitions is a proud supporter of Chris Peranto, Battleline Tactical, and the Battleline podcast. I should add, at one point, they did have the Photonis Defense night vision goggles on there. And I remember I had to be like, you can't get 15% off on those, right? And I think they were at one time, and they were like, yeah, we were like practically giving these away. So that's no longer the case, but they are a friend of Photonis Defense. And with that, we'll get right back to our interview with those guys, Phil Otto and Sean Kirk.
The rare earth stuff you mentioned that. Is that something that Trump was with Ukrainian and the rare? Are we trying to?
Yeah.
Does Ukraine mine that? Is it called mining? I mean, is that what it really is? It is mining and it's a byproduct, or
Essentially what it is, yeah. And
is
and and,
is
and I'm not sure what rare earth metals are part of that deal that they finally signed with Ukraine or not. I don't know what that. I haven't looked that deep into it, see what it is, but clearly it's stuff we use. I guarantee it's stuff we use in the semiconductor industry and
Yeah.
high-end electronics industry is a big national risk if we can't get it.
we can't get if China? How did we get in the position where China does how did we get to this point where? Because the Chinese, they're not stupid. I guarantee you, they saw this. They were looking at the 1,000-yard target, going, "We can get these guys where we're giving them because they're just so greedy. They just want to see the bottom line. They don't care about anything else. They just care about the money and saving a buck." And I guess I just answered my question, but
Right.
when did you guys, at least, and you guys you're in it. You're really in the middle of a lot of this because a lot of your stuff does come from China, like you said, or is made, or you have to go outside and it's a lot harder to do, which is what you guys do, which is awesome. But when did that start? Did you think that it started, and then how do we get out of it? I mean,
I
there's
mean, it really started with Nixon, back in the day, normalizing relations with China. It really
wow.
did. Now, I don't think anybody saw in the early 1970s that this was coming, but the end result was that we normalized relations with a country that doesn't act on and with fair trade, and
No,
yeah,
and they don't like us. And I
yeah,
don't. Grant, I was what 5 years old, 4 years old when Nixon. So I don't remember of it. I was
yeah.
just picking my nose and kicking rocks. But no, I mean that's a great point. I mean, who would have thought? And that's thought way back there, way back then. And that's I agree with you. I mean, now sitting back and listening to that, and is there a way aside from doing these trade deals? And do you agree with Trump doing these rare earth trade? I do. I'm not in the middle, but I do. I'm gonna tell you right now, I do. But do you guys agree with trying to get these deals done with these other countries to get our rare earth minerals, to get other places to that produce these things that we can have a partnership with instead of just continually relying on China, even though in the short run it's going to increase prices on things, at least temporarily. And I think it is going to be temporary. Then they're going to start to come back down again. And we're going to be in a better spot.
I'll let Phil.
Um,
Phil, I
well,
mean, what's your opinion on it, man?
I think the America's pursuit of cheaper goods to improve a standard of living, is one factor of how we landed here. The next one is regulatory. Um, try to get approval and permitting for mining some of this stuff, and then see how fast that happened. There's more than one factor of kind of how we ended up here.
So many
Oh,
factors.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think it's environmental regulations, right?
100%.
That's
right.
why we can't even drill in Alaska. A lot of what Sean was saying was resonating with me. You probably saw I was looking something up because if you ever read the book from a few years ago, The Great Reset that Alex Jones wrote, however, I'm
Great,
not sure that Alex Jones
great,
really wrote it because if you read
great
that book,
book, though.
it's totally not written like him. I think his
Yeah,
name is just on the book. But anyway, they talk about in that book how, believe it or not, you guys can look this up. Like Mika Brzezinski, who's one of the hosts on Morning Joe, her father like helped China to compete with the US and went there and said, this is how you're going to defeat the US. And when he died, I think probably 20 years ago or something like that, maybe less, they had giant parades honoring him because he helped the Chinese to get to this point. So there were a lot of American politicians or American people who worked in an official capacity who helped China outpace the US in this way. With that, though, I want to get into the thing I was saying about the parent company of Photonis, which is
Yeah.
ExoSens. And you guys were saying how on your Instagram, actually, if you guys want to check this out, at Photonis Defense, that ExoSens has announced the expansion of night vision manufacturing in the U.S. So they're putting 20 million euros into Europe and U.S. manufacturing. That's what they're putting into building this. And they're opening a state-of-the-art facility in Sturbridge, Massachusetts, which relates to what you guys are doing. So this is huge in terms of not relying on China and
Yeah.
relying more on US and European manufacturing. So I'd love to hear all about this.
I'll let
Phil, you want to go? You
Sean.
want me to go?
I'll let you kind of
Don't
at
start
least
all at once.
initially
I'll,
out
I'll
there.
start
I
first.
guess I'll say one thing for Sean. We, like Sean said, that nothing that we make, we don't source anything from China currently. There are other products out there, thermal and night vision, that have to source some of those rare earth minerals from China. Ours does not have that. It's a little bit different recipe. So just, we were on the topic of China and talking about some things, but I just want to, make it clear that even with the situation we're in, as a nation, we do our best not to incorporate
Yeah.
Chinese products. So, but other than that, I'll let Sean kind of open up on the U.S. manufacturing side.
Yeah, it's as exciting as it can get, honestly, for us. Phil and I, have been beating our head against the wall for several years because all the tubes that are being made uh, are all going into Ukraine and into Israel, and for all the things that are going over there, and whatever's left we get to sell over here. So we've really been starved of tubes for the last, well, since Ukraine for sure. Um, and we've been talking to the parent company for, well, since I've been here, which will be 10 years in October.
Wow.
We've been talking to them and trying to convince them to invest the money in here in the US. And we went public uh, as a company, Exosense did, in June of last year, I believe. And so that gave them a pretty nice market cap that I think gave them the confidence and the funding to invest here in the U.S. And so, like Ian said, we announced in March that we're opening a new manufacturing for tubes facility for tubes here in the U.S. It'll be open first first part of 2027. We've already got the building. I was up in Sturbridge last week, and there's equipment lining the hallways of another building we own up there. We have a scientific facility that does stuff for space, sensors for space, and all the hallways are full of gear that's going to go in the new building,
Wow.
waiting for it to get built out. So we've signed a lease. We've incorporated a new company, Photonis USA Night Vision Inc. And yeah, it's exciting. We are excited about it. The nice thing about it for us is we're going to be able to support our war fighters, and for the first time, we have an opportunity with the U.S. Army. I won't go that much into it, but it's massive, and the decision is imminent, and we believe we have a real shot at this program because are going to have two manufacturing in the U.S. The other side of that is we make 135,000 tubes a year. The other two manufacturers, who I won't name here, barely make that many combined. They make a little over that combined. So if you take our manufacturing capability here when we have it, and you back that up with 135,000 tubes that are made in Europe and high quality image intensifiers, it really gives the U.S. Army a real value proposition in case we have to do something and outfit 300,000 troops all of a sudden or something like that. If something happened with China or Russia, it gives them, it really lowers that program risk for them, because that's been an ongoing problem.
Yeah.
Since 2001.
Since we were in.
Since 9/11, the demand for night vision and tubes, the U.S. manufacturing industrial base has not been able to keep up with demand, and they've been late on every program that they've ever had because they just can't keep that operational tempo up, and not been able to increase capacity fast enough. So this is the shot for us that we're really excited about.
That's awesome, man. Because I remember when I said point at us, we're still we've been playing catch up since the late '90s. I was still having to share some some deltas because we didn't have those guys. Those were the ones that you see like on what's the
True Lies.
True Lies, Step Brothers too, where they're playing in the Step Brothers guy. Yeah, we're still trying to share those around, and we're like, oh man, you got some 14s to the when oh my gosh, and we're so far behind, and now so that's because that is a big freaking deal. How because the military's been behind for years, except for even in some of the special operations units, they were we're still trying to catch up. So to be able to catch up and get everybody online is incredible.
The big thing about it, beyond just getting a really big contract from us, but it'll give us the resources to really heavily invest in R&D, right, and try to push that next generation of night vision that's out there. And the next generation really is, a blend. They call it fusion, a blend of night vision and thermal together. And cool. So I guarantee you, within a year or two, we'll have a fused goggle out on the market because we have because we'll have the resources from this new manufacturing capability to help us push and add into, they call it IRAD, R&D. So we're excited.
Okay, tell me how you would, if it's going to be thermal and night vision, would you just have a two where you just turn it and it switches from one to the other? I got to know how that would even work.
I'll
How
let Phil
Phil,
knows all about
I
that,
know
so I'll let Phil take that.
Farmer Phil, how the hell would that, and that would be so cool. Or is it just a button you flip over and it goes shoop and it comes to thermal and it comes, and if it is, can I speak at another one and maybe work out a
Right.
deal?
Work out a deal, man.
Oh my God, that sounds
Um,
incredible, man.
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the
You don't
bag.
have to. Okay, nothing top
As
secret.
far as specifically what we're doing, it 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 might be somewhat more what you're talking about, but basically a fused bino. There's a few out there. The thermal is part of your field of view. It's only on one side, but your brain makes one image out of it, right? The two.
Wow.
Now you can toggle that thermal on and off to conserve battery, because the one downfall of thermal is it's a battery hog. Like
Okay.
it will drain batteries really fast. So you can toggle the thermal on and off. And currently the only fused options out there is a fixed thermal on one of the channels, right? It
Gotcha.
kind of piggybacks one of the channels. Now we think there's probably some better ways to add some modularity to that approach and incorporate other things in there, such as SWIR, shortwave infrared, long wave would be your thermal. And then it's also got to talk with different programs that the Army uses. So it's kind of like a smart goggle approach. Now, commercially, there'll probably be a dumb version with the thermal, but like big picture, we're looking at being a little more creative than what the options are currently for a fused binocular. And we'll hopefully next year we got something to even show you. Hopefully next year.
Let's talk about fused a little bit though, Chris, just to give you a kind of a real world example. Say you got a drop zone and there's a big giant tree in the middle of this drop zone and it's really heavily foliaged, right? Well, with night vision, you turn on the night vision and you see it's a tree, but that foliage is so heavy you can't penetrate it.
I can't see who's hiding in it. I
Right,
can't see.
But just think about if you got a night vision system and you dial in thermal and you see a sniper sitting in that tree, right? So you're getting the best of both worlds. Both have limitations. You can't see through smoke on a battlefield with night vision. You can't see through glass because it's cold.
Yeah.
With thermal, you'd be able to mix those two and get the best of both worlds. There are still some limitations within that, and talking about maybe digitally, instead of having it just in one, you have OLED displays instead of actual optics, that kind of thing. We'll see where it goes. The possibilities are endless, and we're excited to have some resources to work on that kind of stuff.
Hey, that is so cool. Okay, the old movies were, even the Terminator movie, where you're watching the feed come up, or now it's actually starting to happen, where you're just watching, or the Iron Man suit, and you're watching the body functions and ammo, and then you've got this. Oh, that is so. Yeah, we got to work out a deal. We got to do something, Sean. If you get
We'll figure it out,
because that sounds super cool. It does. Is that going to be hard? Just to boot all that, the cost has got to be crazy, or is it not? I'm just, and
well, the cost of development's crazy.
Wow.
So you got to recoup that, but we're going to try to make it so that it's an affordable there's a
Ish.
system that the Army fields right now. They're $30,000 a piece,
Yeah.
right? And you're going to give every 19-year-old the $30,000, 19-year-old ground pounder a $30,000, system. No.
It depends if you're that 19-year-old ground pounder. I want one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're just saying we're going to try to do it with a better value,
Yeah, we sure.
right? And
And
I think the approach
we
to
think
the
it can
guy
be done.
can make that happen.
Well, and having the manufacturing here, you have control of that. You have better control of
Yep.
of that. And
Yep.
that's dude, we've been preaching, and we preach that on this show. We've always done that, is that the problem with America is we don't manufacture anything anymore. We manufacture drama, we manufacture the news, we manufacture people on social media. That's what we do. It's just drama.
Yeah.
And we need to bring that manufacturing back to the United States to make us. And I do think that's what's going on right now from what I'm watching and hearing you talking to you guys. Obviously, it is.
Well, we're part of that billions of dollars that's repatriating back to the U.S. And I tell you, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So what's the next step going on? Who are you starting to go to and to continue to promote? Are you just going out to Dam Neck or Little Creek? Are you heading to Pendleton? Are you heading to any other places to do some more
Well,
testing and more shows?
For the last, we had, we had SHOT Show. Right after SHOT Show, literally Valentine's Day, they published this RFP for the Army that was had to be delivered in 5 weeks, and it was not a 5-week RFP. It was Bill, me, and a team of about 6 other people lived in Lancaster, Pennsylvania for about 5 weeks, working on that and getting that submitted. And then we went straight into testing at Benning right after that. So we've all been literally gone since SHOT Show. So
Wow.
And most of our stuff's been with the Army for right now, and now we will and have all intentions to branch out and market to the other services. But some of that I believe they'll start to come to us. We win this big Army contract, they're going to want to piggyback on that. The other services are, because they don't have systems that they need. So yeah, it's an exciting time, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's amazing. And I feel you have an excuse now for ditching me for dinner, dude. It's okay. All right. I forgive you. I'll forgive you, man. Really the only thing, and I wanted to get your take on China and where we're at, since we're so far down the line now, and that was a big deal because to me, it sounds like we are moving in the right direction to get away from them on dependency, at least within the night vision and within the thermal markets and that's important because we want to be better than them at night on the battlefield. That's and just limited experience that I have. I just know that's a force multiplier. It's huge. It allows 5 guys to fight off 40 guys because you can
Master
see
of darkness, baby.
and I don't think people understand when the other guys have that too. That evens up that battlefield, and it's a 1-for-1, and it's just honestly, it's a toss the coin who's going to win this. Hope because tactics at nighttime are hard too. Well, I honestly, that was my biggest thing. Ian, you got anything else that you want to go?
Yeah,
through?
the only thing,
go.
Not related to night vision, and I said it when I emailed you guys, Phil being law enforcement, CIA, Marine, people love when you have some good stories for us, which you've been on several times. And I mean, that's what this audience is, Battle Line Podcast. So whether it's stories from your days policing, CIA contractor, or the Marines, I'd love to just get one good story in that this audience hasn't heard. I emailed you in advance and said, come with a story, Phil.
Well, luckily, as far as having, all these grand stories, sometimes luck's better than skill,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be grand. Just any fun story, any funny story, anything because this audience loves that stuff, man. Because you got to keep in mind, our audience is half civilian, half military, and they love reading books like 13
Right.
Hours, like The Operator. You know, even the books that aren't door kicking stuff, like L. Christian book,
Right,
Bustler's
right.
book about, the flag stuff. So yeah, I just think any cool
Uh,
story you have from your time, people would love, because
and
whether
even
it's people who experienced it themselves and can relate, or the people who really look up to you guys, I think they love hearing
one,
what you guys went through.
and we can even go for. I mean, that actually, I guess I do have another question. That could actually piggyback on Ian's. You guys have been traveling. You guys have been going overseas quite a bit, haven't you? Have you been to Ukraine? I haven't.
But wait, I want to get a combat story
Oh,
first.
well, maybe they have. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Maybe there's
Oh,
a cooler.
we haven't been. We have not been to Ukraine.
No.
There is a presence there, but it's usually handled by other representative.
All right, I tried to give you an out, dude. I tried to
Yeah.
help you. There
No, I want a policing story or a military story.
Well, I already.
After Phil thinks
I
of the
think a
story,
while
I'll
back, I
tell you,
already
I'll
told
tell
you
you
the
some
monkey
stories
story.
about
Yeah,
some
no,
of
I
the
heard
things
that
that are
one.
going
But come on,
in
you were a
Ukraine,
police
though.
officer for several years. You were a Marine. You have something, whether it's
Did you-
a boot camp, anything.
Did you shit your pants? It can be a shit your pants
No.
story too, literally.
No, I haven't. No, luckily I haven't done
I think
that.
Phil takes the silent professional thing too
Yeah.
far.
No, there was. I'll give you kind of funny, but This is when I was working for Custer Battles. Way back.
No, yeah. Well, dude, you gotta have
Yeah.
those guys were fucking crazy. Custer Battles was fucking nuts.
Yeah.
And who is Custer Battles? Because I have no idea.
It was a company that they haven't existed for a while, and I haven't followed up on anything other than just the rumor mill. They might have had some legal troubles. The owners did, but
They were I got you, dude. They were a company that was in Iraq that that had no armor. They gave their guys the worst equipment. They didn't know where the hell they were going half the time. And you literally, I mean, I was Wild West, but that was fucking past Wild
Pretty
West.
wild.
And it was
Yeah.
no, their guys were constantly in danger. They were constantly getting hit because we were responding to them. It was just
Yeah.
complete madness. Those guys were just like Custer Battles.
Well, probably
Death
picked
Wish.
the wrong jobs. The work, like, so when I first went on, and I guess caveat all this. Everybody at that time in 2004 that was contracting, they were all peacetime military. Number one. Number two, nobody ever contracted before. You don't know what's right or wrong as far as how the company operates, right? Other than what tingles your gut. But we were escorting like semis, a semi convoy, and we were just security for them. And we were coming back from Mosul, going to Abu Ghraib, not the prison, the damn. They had like a logistics, like warehouses and shit there, that the military would send stuff over, and then it'd get distributed, in Iraq. We're bringing, just running down the highway with about 15, 20 semis. So this thing is long, 2 miles long. And we were coming, I think it was Bakuba. It's kind of like,
They said saying it. Bakuba.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I'm in the back of this Suburban. There was, I think, 2 of us, and we had Iraqi drivers. Like, we weren't driving. And it just unarmored Suburban, like the boxy Suburban. We were coming through Bakuba, and it was just past, there was a military base there right off the highway. And then I just hear like this burst of machine gun fire. There might have been a couple bursts. I'm like, oh, shit. And some of the drivers, they were hitting the semi, like the semis were getting shot. They were just, whoever was doing it off, probably 100 meters off the road, were just taking pot shots, at the trucks as they're driving by. And I kind of caught some movement, kind of behind a rise, people moving around, looked like weapons. And we're still driving. I mean, we're running like 45 mile an hour. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to hit anybody, but I'm going to try to get them to stop shooting. And I had an AK-47. I I had M4, but I had AK-47 at the time. So I let loose, blew the window out of the back of the Suburban. My buddy was shooting out of the driver's side. His window rolls down. Back window of this Suburban doesn't go anywhere. So you got to shoot it out to shoot. And it was tinted glass, and that tempered glass, when it busts, it's these tiny little squares. And it just flew, just like exploded. Pow! And I let, probably 2 6 to 8 round bursts out. And I had to stop shooting because the pillar was there before the back window.
Yeah.
I shot the back window out and let more bursts out the back just to try to, put heads down, because we're not going to stop and fight. I mean, you got 15 semis. What are you going to do? So you're just trying to get them to stop shooting at you and keep moving down the damn road. That was it. But we got to Abu Ghraib, and my buddy was like, man, fuck, did we hit like a crow, or did you shoot a turkey or something? Because when he was shooting, he just caught out of the corner of his eye this plume of what he thought was like black feathers, but no, it was a back window getting shot out and just kind of exploding outwards. We got back, and I don't know, there was a handful of the semis, they had bullet holes down the trailer, some of it on the top, that aerodynamic stuff on the top of the semi, it's like angled up.
Yeah.
They were getting hit there. I mean, just kind of spray and pray. But no, it was just funny, just the way he didn't really know what had happened. When all that's going on and you're shooting, you just see things out of the corner of your eye. You really, until you get back and huddle up and talk it out, you're like, I don't know the hell, what
just happened? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought we hit a bird or something. And I'm like, no, man, I shot that damn window out, because that window doesn't roll down. I can't shoot out of it. Like, I gotta. So yeah.
See, that was a great story. Aren't you glad that we didn't sidetrack to something else? Because I knew I'd get something out of you, man. You have great stories. No, that was awesome, man.
And that was, a lot of those guys that were in Iraq during that time, that was commonplace. And you don't take it, everybody, they're like you. I mean, they're like, well, it's no big deal. But that happened on a freaking regular, man, or cracking your door and shooting is get back in. And it became like me grabbing this cup of coffee and drinking it. That's why you don't take it that seriously, because it's like, well, shit, we were doing it. I'm here. We just got back. And then, you would get back and like, that's cool. Look at those bullet holes, man. That's pretty awesome. And then you'd go back out again. And Custer Battles was pretty. Yeah, they went out of business. They were business. I think they went overseas just to try to get contracts before they even had contracts. It was like, we talk about the lowest bidder. It was kind of like that. Hey, can you guard these guys? Yeah, we'll do it for $100 a day. Go ahead. And they give you guys shit. But that was awesome, dude. I knew that story. Phil's told that story. I was just busting Phil's balls. I was like, dude, talk about your shit, dude.
We can only give you little bits at a time.
You're a cool
that's a good one.
You're a cool motherfucker. And
absolutely.
I was like, dude, tell me, you're pretty freaking cool. So, come on,
I would agree.
John, do you have any shooting out of the back of Suburban stories or anything like that?
I do not. My weirdest story, and it's not even related, but it is just being in odd places, because I didn't serve, right? Shortly after I joined Photonis, we had to go over to Jordan and do a demo for like about 150 generals, because that's all they got over there is generals.
They're
right?
all generals.
I might have told you this story, Chris. I don't know. Maybe
I don't think I
dinner.
remember.
No, you didn't tell it on the show. I think we talked. Go ahead. We talked about it when we were just having a drink. Man. Yeah.
I had our agent over there. You got to have a guy in country that knows the lay of the land, right? So we had an agent over there, and he set up this whole thing, and so we had, I don't know, $150,000 worth of gear with us, and we get into 2 Ubers because we got so much gear, and I'm in an Uber by myself, and everybody else is in another Uber, and we're going out to this military academy outside of Amman, and I'm on my phone, and I noticed out of the corner of my eye, we keep passing the same landmark like 4 or 5 times. And then the hair goes up on the back of my head. Why is this guy going around in circles? And I said to the guy, excuse me, what's going on? And the guy says something in Arabic, pulls over to the side of the road, and throws me out of the Uber with $150,000 of gear. I'm sitting on the side of the road in a, Jordan's a pretty safe country. It's pretty westernized,
well,
but
kinda. There's still
I'm-
tourists there.
I'm kind of a white guy.
Yeah,
I kind of stand out.
kind of stick
And-
out and it's still petty theft and shit. It's still there, man. And
Yeah, I got $150,000 worth of night vision gear and thermal gear sitting here, digital gear sitting here, and I'm trying to get a hold of our agent. And what it turned out is Ubers were illegal over there at the time, and the guy had a taxi tailing him, and the taxi will turn him into the police. So he kicked me out, and I sat there for probably 30 or 40 minutes, pretty damn nervous. Nothing compared to getting pot shotted from in the back of a Suburban or shooting out the back of the Suburban. But for me, it was pretty
I'm as the other civilian, I'd be scared, man.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Jordan is like any other country.
Yeah.
Any other third world. And
You never know.
sorry, King Hussein, but it
Yeah.
is. You're going to get jacked for your shit, and they will
Yeah.
jack. And I'm talking about kill you, shank you for your shit, and
There's not
and
even
I think
there's
two
not
things
even-
about it.
I don't think there's a single honest cab driver in
No.
all of the Middle East. So if that's the case, they'll certainly jack your shit for sure.
Well, I had my
wild,
gear
man.
jacked up when trying to get in Iraq. We didn't know what to carry, and we had bags of our stuff. We didn't realize how, you pack light. I learned that as I've continued to do more deployments. The first deployment, I packed the house and the kitchen sink and GPSs, and Blackwater gave us all that shit. I didn't see it for 90 days, and when I got it finally, because it got stuck in customs in
Yeah,
Oman.
they took it in customs.
Yeah, they
right?
took everything. I had nothing. It was like, here's your black bags. They're duffel bags. Did you have anything in them? Yeah, they were full. Well, they're not now, but it's all right. But no, that's a cool story too. And people, because
Wild.
it is just normal everyday stuff that we
It's a
take
different
for
world over
granted.
there.
Yeah, kicking your ass. What did you fire the expediter? That was your agent, the expediters. We got those guys too.
Yeah,
all the
no,
time.
no, I didn't fire him, but the end of that story is kind of funny too, because we went and did this it was supposed to be just a presentation and show and tell. We weren't supposed to do any live fire or any of that kind of stuff. And we get to this thing, and like I said, there's 140 generals in the room, and the main general, after I'm done for the presentation, we go shoot. I'm like, okay. So we jump into the back of these deuce and halves, and there's like stop sign reactive targets in the back of these things, and 50 cals. And we go out into the middle of the desert. I turned to our agent and I said, "Are we in Aleppo yet? I don't know what the hell's going on." It's like 9 o'clock at night. We get out, we put up all these targets, we put night vision stuff on. They're using it. They're firing at these things, and it's just chaos going on. They're having a blast. And then the main general goes, "Okay, good, we go." Nothing ever came of it, and they never bought any of our shit.
Oh, there.
Oh,
my
man.
Lord.
But it's a cool story. So for
That
me,
is-
anyway.
It's
That-
absolutely a cool
That
story,
is a
man.
freaking awesome stuff. Brings back memories, man. Both those
Yeah.
stories bring back, because I spent a lot of time in Jordan and Iraq as well, and those
Crazy for
convoy.
me,
Yeah,
I started out this. You guys told you my story. I started out taking pictures for Sports Illustrated, and then I'm sitting in the middle of a desert in Jordan. I'm going, how did I get here, man?
and they
Yeah.
do. There is no safeties. There's no safe
Yeah.
range. There's no range safety.
No,
You just get out
nothing.
here to
Nothing.
shoot. Like holy shit! Somebody's gonna die. You have guys running out to grab shit in the middle of the
Yeah.
fire. Oh, but it
I'm
is.
I'm pretty sure half the generals
Chaos.
were in the bag. Before going out, they were doing shots. It's
Hey,
crazy.
was Phil on that one? Is he the one that left you in the
No,
other
he
cab?
wasn't there. He wasn't there. It was before he started.
Okay.
I'm sending him in the next to the
Next
next
time,
one,
yeah, next time you send Phil. Yes, well, no, super cool stories, guys. And honestly, the thermal night vision, that's going to be cool. We got to have you back on when that
Oh,
pops.
absolutely.
Oh, we will.
Because-
Yeah, I
and-
always love catching up with you guys. I mean, that's why we get to do this every year or so. I mean, the last time I saw you, as we said, was New York. I think that was right after or right before the Pablo Schreiber interview, like the week after, or the week before.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the time before that was SHOT Show. And you know what I remember from SHOT Show? Because we hung out, we went for dinner, but I was in the casino and with you guys, and I randomly ran into our friend Gary Brugman. and I'm having a whole conversation with Gary Brugman, totally unrelated to all this stuff, which I'll tell you what we were talking about. Um, but I remember Sean came over and I wanted to introduce Gary Brugman, and it's so weird because I just feel like the same way with Chris, you have to be like one of the survivors of Benghazi, like anytime someone mentions you. So I'm like, this was the Border Patrol agent who was pardoned by President Trump. And I said to him, I was like, I'm sorry I have to like bring this up every time that like, you're introduced to someone. And he was like, no, I prefer that than being the guy that Bush put in jail. So anyway, it was funny because, you spoke to Gary a while. He was a great dude. And then you said, hey, what are you guys talking about anyway? Which I was like, we're currently talking about who's the current drummer for Stephen Pearcy, because I had just seen Stephen Pearcy, Vixen, and the second version of LA Guns. There were two bands touring as LA Guns. And the only person who is as big a nerd for this genre and like actually knows his shit is Gary Brugman. And then I think at that point you were like, all right, I'm going to get out of here. I have nothing to add to this conversation. So, I always love hanging with you guys when we can. Maybe I'll make it to SHOT Show. I mean, I can't believe we're halfway through the year already. It feels like SHOT Show just happened, even though I wasn't there. What were you saying, Chris?
Suffolk? Did you guys go to Suffolk this year, or Suffolk? Because didn't that just happen?
We did, yeah.
How was that? It's kind of an under the radar trade show out in Tampa. Yeah. How was it, man? How was it this year?
It's always good to go there. We didn't have a booth there. We walked it, and had a bunch of more, partnership with industry-wide kind of meetings than actually with the customers there, but potential customers there. But it was a good show. But I was going to say to Ian, I think the next one of these things we should do in Hawaii. That's my
I'm
vote.
down. That would be awesome. That would be great, man. Hawaii. But yeah, guys, photonisdefense.com. Were you adding something, Chris? I'm sorry.
No, I was like, well, okay. Hey,
yeah.
Whatever, yeah.
Photonisdefense.com, at Photonis on Instagram. You hear us talk about Photonis every other show,
but
it's not just because there's a great partnership there. It's because we genuinely love working with these guys, and we really believe in the product. Phil's Instagram is at NOC Works. We have plenty of stuff in the works for future shows for all you guys listening, so be sure to subscribe wherever you're listening, watching. I know Chris is not here the next two shows, but what was crazy is, so I book a lot of different people who I think will be interesting to this audience. And if they have books out, I always say, send me a hard copy of the book. Because even if I don't get a chance to read the entire thing, I like to go through it at least. And I just received some books today for one of our next guests. And I look at the cover and I go, man, Chris should be on for this one, but he's not. So we'll have to have him back. I'm going to grab it right here.
Who am I missing? I
was like, if there's any book I received that like this is in Chris's wheelhouse and he's not on for this show, and he's either next week or 2 weeks from now, look at that. The Mediocre Infantryman's Guide to Ranger School by Andrew Goldsmith. You know him?
I don't know Andrew, but I should be on that one. Yeah,
I know. That's cool. I happened to book him. I didn't even know this was one of his books, but when I got the book in the mail, I go, I should have saved this for Chris.
Get Maddie Waters on to be the stand-in. Get hop along.
Well, we'll have him on for it because I already booked this guy, so we'll have him on for a second show. And then he's Phil, good, which I'm sure he will be.
We should, for any Marines that come on. If I'm not on, we should have Phil as my stand-in. We have as the special guest.
I mean, we've done this 5+ years now without ever having a stand-in, and it's worked. So I don't know, but I mean, I love having Phil on anytime. I do.
I hate Phil, so I don't care. No,
I will stand you up again.
I will skip it. Phil is awesome. Yeah, Phil. I said, Phil, you're the man. And Sean, you're the man too, guy. That is so cool that you're bringing the manufacturing in, and when
oh hell yeah,
yeah.
I'll be you guys. We appreciate the support that you've given us over the last few years, and we'll keep it going.
No,
we appreciate it as well.
Honor. And those Vipers are badass, dude. That reminds me. Are the tubes? is the tube going to change? Do I need to send it back in to get an update or anything? I mean, it's fine how it is.
Change. But we need to get you the next version of the Viper that's coming in about a month.
Okay.
We didn't talk about that at all.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah. So yours is just the simple, like we talked about before, turn it on, turn it off. It works, right? Which is great. When you need it, it's there.
It's there.
Well, we've upgraded it to where now you can add external battery pack, so you get more battery, about more runtime, an illuminator that this one doesn't have,
That's
IPE
cool.
stops, so you can actually adjust it and keep it to your ice width.
That is bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
gain control it'll have as well. So
Wow.
and it's going to be made out of I'm not going to talk about it much yet because we want to launch it, but a cool new material that will make it really, really light and really, really rugged.
So how often do I have to bother Phil about that in the upcoming future? Do I
Well,
need
you
to?
just bother Phil
We'll
every
get
day
you
because
squared
he
away.
deserves it. But
No,
but
no.
we'll hook you up, man. Don't worry.
Oh, I appreciate it. I said, man, if it can get better than what I got, that's pretty freaking impressive, man. Because it's
Yeah,
pretty
it's going to be
awesome.
better.
As you say, the simple
Yeah.
one, shit, I can see Mars with the
Yeah.
simple one. So that's
Yeah.
now
This gives you a little more functionality, a little more flexibility for
awesome.
for different types of missions. So it'll be
Per-
good.
Awesome. Well, Phil, I'll be hitting you up in June. Say,
Hey,
man,
man, we'll take care of you. We'll get you
I
squared
know,
away with the newest, and
I know.
hopefully, yeah, we'll have some good information to go with it as well. But either way, we'll get you taken care of with the latest version.
Well, I'm honored. We're honored to have you on, and still honored to be the only podcast out there that
Yeah.
has a night vision sponsor. That's still, to me, that's still a feather in our cap. That's badass. And not a $600 night vision sponsor. We're talking night vision for real sponsor. So
Yeah,
we appreciate that. Whatever you guys need from me and Ian too, you know, you got it.
Absolutely.
Just ask.
we really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
That's all for this episode of Battle Line Podcast. But we're always posting new content on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Battle Line Podcast and on Twitter at Battle Line Pod. That's an order. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes up every Tuesday. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or your podcast platform of choice. Believe in yourself. Face all challenges head on. And as always, never quit.